Welcome, weebs, gamers, and nerds alike. 2026 has been a ridiculously amazing year for anime. From that insanely stacked winter season to a beyond solid spring, we've had some of the best anime of all time so far this year. So in today's video, we go over 10 of the best anime of 2026 so far. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more geek content. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Kicking off this list, we have Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 Part 1, The Cooling Games. I don't know where all the hate for this season comes from because this was some of the most amazing, experimental, jaw-dropping animation and action we've ever seen in anime. From the initial Yuji versus Yuta as they go for blow to the rotoscope of Yuji talking to Hikari, which was really well done. It made you kind of feel like you were in the room watching this very tense negotiation, to the amazing Kill Bill reference in Maki versus Zenin Clan, with even the show doing a replay of Naoya's absolute beatdown, and of course the insane last episode in the Sendai colony. This season was a masterclass of action animation, and it was all handled with such pure care and polish. Was it completely perfect? No, but it really did show off all the hard work from everyone involved. The voice acting was solid, the music was beautiful and hype-inducing, and this was just the start. The second half of the Cooling Games is set to be even more crazy, high-octane, and just downright insane than this one. Part 1 was extremely exciting to watch and even managed to make the more dialogue-heavy moments like the explanation of the Cooling Games flow by with relative ease with good explanations. All around, this was such a fun watch and definitely one of the best anime of this year so far. Next up, we have a fan favorite here in Witch Hat Atelier. The long wait for this show was so worth it. From the music done by Yuka Kitamura of FromSoft game fame, to the gorgeous animation from Bug Films, to even the amazing voice acting in both the sub and dub. This show was a spectacle from beginning to end of season 1 with a gigantic cliffhanger to really keep us wanting more. The way each episode flowed, it felt like a genuine passage of time and it didn't feel choppy or messy. The world building with the amazing magic system, where literally everyone can do magic as long as you have a pen and the know-how, which draws on so many moral dilemmas. Should witches be the only ones to have access to magic? Why limit what it can do? Who should really have the final say? The show perfectly explores these questions and more as we follow Coco and her journey to being a witch so she can hopefully one day save her mother. Of course, the action sequences in this were top notch, especially against the dragon. The creativity of each of the characters and those gosh darn brush buddies are so dang adorable. This really proved why it belongs in the upper echelon of fantasy anime and is so deserving of a watch. Next up, we have Wistoria Wand and Sword Season 2. Speaking of amazing fantasy anime, Season 2 of Wistoria Wand and Sword did not disappoint in the slightest. A lot of people were worried because the trailer left a little to be desired, but by God, the animation this season was just as good as Season 1, if not better at spots. The character building and development was well done, with us getting to see more of Will and how he became who he is, why he couldn't really use magic, and the mystery behind his power that he showed at the end of Season 1. Which, by the way, we actually got to see quite a bit of in Season 2. The action scenes were amazing, especially the fight between two of the Magia Vanders. The camera angles and the choreography were great, and we got a new contender in the Tantrum Queen department with Lady Elfaria. All around, this was a great second season, just another reason to pick up and watch this show, as it is definitely one of the most underrated and not talked about anime enough in the last few years. Next up, we have Hell's Paradise Season 2, another highly underrated series that knocked it out of the park with Season 2. Season 1 was by no means bad by a long shot, but it did feel a little rushed, and the animation at times wasn't as amazing as we know is possible from MAPPA. So when they announced this was airing at the same time as JJK Season 3, it was either going to be really good or it's going to be a flop, and thankfully it was the former, because the world and characters of this show are so unique, diverse, fun, and intriguing, with some amazing designs, and Season 2 helped explain so much and elevate a lot of the characters. We got to see a lot more of the motivation from characters like Yuzuriha, Shion, and even Gabimaru. The power system was explained a crap ton more thoroughly and really drew you in, especially with the plan the Tencent have. The fights were top tier with some great choreography, and the designs look straight out of a FromSoft game. Add on top a great opening and gorgeous, ominous music, and you have one of the best anime seasons to come out so far this year. Next up, we have a show we've talked a lot about on this channel in Sentenced to be a Hero. This took, I think, everyone by surprise with how amazing this was from episode 1 to the end of season 1, as we were hooked with its amazing animation, designs, plot twists, and interesting characters with both main and side. This offers a kind of new take on this hero subgenre, where being a hero is actually the worst punishment out there. For those convicted of heinous crimes, they are sentenced to become a hero and forced to enter the mandatory military service in the war against the demon lords. These convicts are not even allowed to die. If killed, they'll just be resurrected to fight another day. Hero Xylo Forbarts, former head of the Order of the Holy Knights, leads a penal unit of deplorables fighting on the front lines. It's in these direst of circumstances that he meets Terrorita, one of the world's strongest weapons. We loved learning about all of the heroes and how they ended up with the hero service penalty, some being a little lesser like Dada, to the more extreme cases like the main character Xylo or Zav. We got an insane freaking twist at the end of season 1 that really makes us excited for the next season. We want to learn more about Rhino and his whole story. The animation was outstanding and insanely consistent throughout the entire run, which makes a lot of sense because it is made up of a lot of former Mushoku Tensei animators. And it really held its own against other juggernauts like JJK, Hell's Paradise, and Freeren, which were all airing at the same time. Sentenced to be a Hero is such a great dark fantasy with a fresh story, definitely worth your watch. Next up, we have Fate Strange Fake. All-out battle royale between gods, fabled heroes, magicians, assassins with guns, magic, arrows, and swords in the good old US of A. It was incredibly hard to screw this show up, and with the high reputation the Naosuverse has, A1 Pictures just had to give us a serviceable adaptation and most people would be happy. But instead, what we got was a mind-blowing animation spectacle that definitely helped keep A1 as one of the premier studios when it comes to action animation. There were so many fights that left us with our jaws dropped, from King Richard vs. Gilgamesh, to Jack the Ripper vs. Hercules, to Jester a Vampire vs. Hansa the Proctor of the Holy Grail War. They kept upping themselves one after the other. But what really set this series apart was the amazing character writing and world building, which makes sense coming from the person who wrote Durarara and Baccano. Each character felt interesting and worth paying attention to, and you didn't feel bored when it swapped to a different one. It also helps the soundtrack was composed by none other than Hiroyuki Sawano. Altogether, this was a great time and easily one of the best of this year. Now we have Marriage Toxin. This could have gone one of two ways: a really generic run-of-the-mill assassin love story, or a great fun interesting romance with high quality action scenes that really make it stick out. Luckily, this was the latter. The story goes like this. We follow Hikaru Garo, heir to the Poison Master's Garo family, who has lived his entire life in the underworld, far removed from love or marriage. But when the Garo family head decrees that Hikaru's sister must bear an heir to preserve the bloodline, by force if necessary, Hikaru resolves to protect her at all costs. It is then that Hikaru encounters Mei Kinosaki, a brilliant marriage swindler who becomes the target of his latest job. Realizing that the only way of solving the family succession problem and protecting his sister is through marriage, Hikaru impulsively asks Mei for help in finding a bride. It's these interactions between Hikaru and each new potential partner that make this show so amazing, because each one feels different, makes Hikaru act and interact in different ways, and helps expand the world and his character in a multitude of ways. The opening slaps, getting stuck in your head for days on end, and this also has some of the best animation Studio Bones has done in terms of action. So if you want a really good romance action show, this is definitely high up on your list. Next up, we have Nippon Sengoku. Nippon Sengoku came straight out of left field. No build-up, no insane hype, just pure unadulterated heat. A straight piss missile of amazing, unique animation, great militaristic encounters, deep, well-rounded characters, and a world where you can't help but feel completely invested in, especially after the jaw-dropping first episode. It takes place in an alternate history Japan where revolution sparked by nuclear war, natural disaster, and misrule leads to the collapse of Japanese society. The nation splits into 3 nations vying for power, and the Sengoku era begins. One of the main characters, Aotoru Misumi, a former agricultural officer, vows to reunify Japan. He rises through the ranks with only his insane knowledge and elegance, who later becomes known as a genius strategist. The scheming, politicking, underhanded actions, and backstabbing make this show feel all that more real, as it feels like that's exactly how these people would act in these situations. The animation is insanely unique with its comic book-esque inner monologues, shifts between speaking characters, and a fun-ass art style, along with great voice acting and good music, which help raise this as a definite hidden gem so far this year. Next up, we have Shiboyuki. This might come as a surprise to some people, especially with shows like Free Reign, Classroom of the Elite, which was fire this past season, and Oshinoko's newest season, but this show really just felt different and struck a chord with us, and is one of the ones that definitely need a little bit more recognition. The plot follows Yuki, a detached 17-year-old veteran who treats televised deadly reality games as a professional career whose goal is to survive 99 consecutive games. Throughout the 11-episode runtime, we see Yuki progress through multiple various different lethal games as she interacts with brand new contestants while suppressing her emotions. The camera angles and direction give almost a Wes Anderson kind of vibe. The way the show treats death in Yuki's eyes, it's just another thing that happens, really sits on the viewer, and adds a sense of despair and uneasiness. With a gorgeous soundtrack accompanying these tragic scenes, we can't help but recommend this amazing series to give a shot. And to round out this list, we have Snowball Earth. I know, this isn't one of the huge big name anime that have come out this year, and believe you me, there have been a lot of them. But when Hideo Kojima, Hideaki Anno, the director of Neon Genesis, Kazuki Nakashima, the writer behind Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, and One, the mangaka of One Punch Man and Mob Psycho, all recommend this show, you kinda at least gotta give it a shot. And honestly, it doesn't disappoint. It has a great MC who's a bit on the shyer side, who's completely horribly afraid of social interaction. But after an insane event where an ice kaiju froze the planet while he was out with his best friend Yukio, robot, in space, fighting hordes of space kaiju, he returns and tries to make friends and live his life. The motivations of all the characters all feel really believable. The setting was really interesting and cool, as post-apocalyptic winters aren't extremely common. And you know the animation was going to be good, as it was done by Studio Kai, who did Sentenced to be a Hero, which we mentioned earlier. While definitely a more mature leading show, this was a very pleasant surprise and definitely one of the best of this year. And that wraps up our list for the best anime of 2026 so far. Of course, we left off a crap ton of shows, so let us know down in the comments what shows you really enjoyed this year so far. Make sure you check us out on Twitch and TikTok for more geeky goodness. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on more geek content. And until the next video, keep on geeking on.